العالمين.
I'm from Wellington. I was brought up in Berhampore, Wellington, which is quite close to where we are now in the Kilbirnie Masjid. And basically I spent a lot of my time mixing around with different nationalities, different ethnic races from India, from Asia, from China and so on. Some of my friends were from there. Berhampore is quite a multi-ethnical society, so there's a lot of good vibes going on there in the 70s when I grew up. And basically my family, as such, I was brought up as a Protestant. I went to a Sunday school when I was a young boy, so I learned about the stories of beloved prophets, Noah, Musa, in the biblical sense. So the good teachings of those days in Sunday school, I think, had some bearing on how I understand the prophets now in today's sense. So it weren't strict in bringing up in the teaching of the Christian teaching that I was brought up in. So generally when I was moving away and the parents were not going to church anymore during my teenage years, there was no pressure on me to be connected to any church or denomination or anything like that. Myself, I drifted into a bit of a cosmology type of thinking, generally thinking, where do I come from and where are my origins from? So my upbringing kind of influenced this in some respect, I think. There was always something inside of me that said I'm searching for something, basically. And I think a lot with the convert or reverts, they actually there's a seed planted in all of us, of course, but during my early 20s, I wasn't even thinking about what is Islam and why is this happening and, you know, what is the truth. During my early 20s towards the mid-20s, I went through a period of more deeper searching, reading books and so on, and looking at things in the world, basically, reflecting on what's happening with social standards, not only in the other parts of the world, but looking at our own country, New Zealand, and looking to see what my friends and family and my community, what's happening to my community. When I was about 23, 24, I decided to actually wholeheartedly go and actually develop a better myself, my own being, my own soul. I had to clean it up, basically. Yeah. So I did go into a period of searching through what is my profession as a graphic designer, an artist. You know, I restudied up in Wanganui, and of course to do my degree course up there. And as it happened, there was a lot of Muslim students there from Malaysia. From that point onwards, more strongly I was focused on what is Islam, and I was concentrating on exactly how I can actually get out of my own trap into something which I felt was something that would actually save my soul. Probably being another 6 months that I knew that Islam in my heart was I was a Muslim, and I had to follow the religion of Islam. Then I went over to Malaysia. I followed some of the students over there after I finished my studies, and officially became a Muslim, as so-called through the governmental requirements. And I did change my name. I changed my name and my passport and birth certificate. In New Zealand, you can do this. You can change your name. So I had to go back to all my previous birth certificates and passports and basically change the name. It's not a problem. The government didn't ask any questions in those days. So everything was quite sweet from that point on. In New Zealand, there is, I think, a little bit more understanding to actually being able to go and do your prayers. Of course, we don't have surahs or masjids at every corner, and of course we can't go into a church to do our prayers or anything like that, because there is a lot of churches around. But we can find separate areas within our cubicles to do our workstations, next to our workstations. And the perception of the local Kiwi colleagues that we're working with, they're inquisitive, and they're asking, what are you doing? What's all this about? What are you praying in that direction all the time? And can't you just pray in your chair or something like this? You know, so there's since I've been back in New Zealand for the last 3 or 4 months, there is quite a lot of interest, I think, from the locals about what is this religion about, and why is the angle of the Kibboleth like this, and fasting month, for example. A lot of different things which needs to be communicated to my parents, for example, communicate to my sister, communicate to my neighbour, you know, just to get them to understand that we've got these different ways of doing things. Muslims coming from other countries, there's a lot of course, the immigrants way outnumber the so-called New Zealand-born Muslim at the moment. What they bring to New Zealand, I think, is very good. And I think it's not just one type of look and angle or style of school of thought, of mazhab, of what Islam is. It is variations of what we can do and the way we practice Islam, as long as it's not too radical. I think the local communities and the Kiwis who are non-Muslim will see it as a good, peaceful, pure religion, and something that they can adopt themselves. Yeah, we could say we're first-generation Kiwi Muslims, and we are actually having families now to either local New Zealand lasses, or to maybe some lady from India or from Arab countries. So we are bringing up our children in secular schools. I mean, in Wellington, my children goes to a secular school. My daughter's 6 years old. She's mixing quite happily with the other Kiwi kids, as well as she would back in Singapore, Malaysia, with the Muslim in a Muslim madrasa school. You know, so the next generation will actually, inshallah, if we can actually teach them well as parents and as a community of Muslims, the next generation will actually of Kiwi Muslims, whether they're from New Zealand or from other countries, will, inshallah, will actually grow the perception with the non-Muslims to actually make them see that this religion is a fantastic religion, and it's purely based on the scriptures from Allah, and it's actually got a lineage of prophets which goes through the Christian prophets as well. So a lot of the things come from the prophets of the Christian prophets, also, of course, the Muslim prophets. The future of Islam here in New Zealand, I think, is strong, for sure. And inshallah, we actually, politically, we keep out, in the government sense, we keep out of these issues around the world. And hopefully we can live in peace as a whole community. Our forefathers came here as farmers, as entrepreneurs, to do manufacturing and to find a better life outside where they were. So now, when we are actually Kiwis, and we want to find something better for ourselves, our own well-being, basically, we've found Islam. From where, if we could ask? Some have found it through marriage, some have found it through searching through the lives as we are as Kiwis. We've found different ways of seeing the world, and we've actually adopted a so-called foreign religion called Islam. But how did that come about? That's the funny thing. You know, we've actually brought it into our own hearts. If we're sincerely brought into our own hearts, we've been given it through a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, but we are still purely a Kiwi you know, being brought up and raised. I mean, it's a funny thing, isn't it? You know, actually being brought up from Johnsonville, from Upper Hutt, from Rotorua, from Taupo, never actually being introduced to Islam, but you get guided along the path and you actually fall into this beautiful religion. So yeah, it's, I think we still definitely are Kiwi bonded. We're bonded to the environment. We got 4 seasons, so we definitely have something special here. My mother calls this God's own country. A lot of people call it New Zealand God's country. So, alhamdulillah, we're actually we're living as Muslims in God's country.